Hello, welcome to the orientation for English 1102 online. I'm Cindy Wheeler and I'll be your professor this semester. And I want to give you some information on online courses and this course in particular. So we're going to start by talking a little bit about the course delivery, how you will get access to the materials this semester. And the course can be found on Georgia View Vista, which is the course delivery system that Georgia Highlands uses for online classes. This is going to change in the future, but for right now it is Georgia View Vista, and you can access this via a link on the Georgia Highlands homepage. And like I said earlier, everything that we do in the course will be posted here, so it's going to be very important that you're able to log in promptly. Obviously, if you're watching this video, you're probably already in there now, but if any problems do occur during the semester with your access, you need to make sure that you take care of those as soon as possible. And any kind of login or password issues can be addressed to any of the IT departments or offices on any campus. You can send them an email to rt@highlands.edu and they should be able to help you with your password problems. I can look up your username, but I do not have access to your password. So for those issues, IT will have to help you with that. One important function or something that needs to be done when you're doing the Georgia View Vista is you need to make sure that you turn off any kind of pop-up blocker that your system, your internet system might be using, because the way Vista works is, or any of these course delivery systems, is that basically everything will pop up in a box. And so if you don't have a box, if you don't have a pop-up blocker on, the boxes won't open. So make sure that that is taken care of. And if you have questions about that, I'm sure IT will be able to help you with that as well. It's very important to remember when you're taking an online course that you need to have reliable access to the internet. And this sounds like a little bit of a obvious issue, but sometimes students don't really consider things like, really slow internet. Nothing you need to download for this course will be more than a couple pages long, but sometimes it takes a long time if you have a slower system. You will be required to download, like I said, open attachments, even to the point of posting attachments, making postings for discussion questions and that sort of thing, as well as opening audio and video links on occasion. And so you may find that your current software system, whatever system you use, may not be updated to open, say, for example, an Adobe document, a PDF document. So as you're working through this semester, realize that it may be a case where you'll need to upgrade or download some things for your computer to make some of these programs work. So do be aware of that. It's also important that if you have technology problems, that you take care of those as soon as possible. It's the equivalent of if you're in a regular, traditional setting and you lose your textbook. It's one of those things where you would need to obviously find a replacement for that as soon as possible so you can do the readings and complete your assignments. And the same thing is true with the internet. If your internet should go down, let's say a storm comes and your internet goes down, you need to be aware that you need to let me know, first of all, that you're having technology problems, but you need to have an alternative option to get your coursework using someone else's computer, for example. There are computers for student use at all the Georgia Highlands campuses. So, using the technology is very convenient, but sometimes when technology fails, it's a little bit of a headache. So just make sure that you have a backup plan if your technology should fail you. Either your laptop crashes or, like I said, your internet goes down or what have you. Students are still responsible for the work, and making sure you have an alternate plan is always important. We will be meeting for a number of mandatory class meetings. As soon as these dates are determined, these will be sent either through your Georgia Highlands email or through Vista, Georgia View Vista. And as soon as those dates are posted, you will need to make arrangements. For example, arranging childcare, work related, maybe taking an afternoon off or leaving work early or whatever the case may be. But you should get these dates in plenty of time to have reasonable length of time to take care of these things. Some of the test dates and times will be set up that I will set up, which means you don't have to sign up ahead of time. You just come to one of the sessions. And then some of the sessions may be set up by the testing centers on some of the campuses, which will require you to actually go in and pick a time and set up and register. And it'll be probably a combination of these two. And so it's important that you take care of the registration if that's an issue, and you'll know all of that at the time, so I'll send you directions on all this. Online class, it's extremely difficult to do makeups if you don't come to the test sessions that are scheduled. So usually I say test makeups only with an excused absence, and then you need to make it up. Let me know ahead of time, and you make it up within 3 weekdays, either before the test would have taken place or after. And it would, in most cases, always need to be at the Floyd campus. That's where I'm centered, and that's where my other classes are, and I have other responsibilities that keep me there most of the time. So if at all possible, the best plan is just to come to make arrangements to come to the original test meeting dates. But if other arrangements have to be made, then we can do that. Again, usually it's going to have to be for an excused absence and that sort of thing. I'm going to talk to you a little bit now about online classes. I don't know, again, at the beginning of a semester whether students have had online classes before. Some have, some haven't. And for those of you who haven't had it, and those of you who've had it know this, they are more rigorous than most students assume they are. It's definitely not the easier option than taking a traditional class. And online learning does work very well for people who are, I guess, if you could be categorized as an independent learner, certainly someone who is motivated and someone who can meet deadlines and that sort of thing. But I will say that taking an online composition course or literature course, which English 1102 is both of those, is difficult for people who may have struggled in the past with writing and or reading comprehension. So I would think very carefully. I mean, it's not impossible to do this. I mean, anyone who works hard and meets the deadlines can succeed, but you need to think a little more closely if you struggled in these areas in the past. It does make it a little more difficult for people who have had problems in these areas. But online classes are very convenient for people who don't have traditional schedules. You will need, of course, to make plans to come to just a very few, a little small handful of meetings, but it's very convenient for those who don't really have the schedule to come to class 2 days a week and actually come to campus that often. Also, you need to also keep in mind that there is a generally high drop rate in online courses. People who register for the course, start doing the coursework and then realize it's not what they thought it was, or it's harder than they thought it was. So what I recommend students do is after the first few weeks, you should evaluate how things are going and make an honest assessment of how you're doing. And the midterm withdrawal date will always be posted, so you'll have that. I will also say that English 1102 also has a high drop rate in general, no matter if it's online or in a traditional setting. It's just one of those courses that has a lot of components in it, which I'll talk to you about in a little bit. So just keep these things in mind. It may seem very overwhelming at first, but it is something that that is a very worthwhile, beneficial thing to do, is to take this course online. But it may take you a few weeks to get into the swing of things. I also would like to point out that since I just mentioned the midterm withdrawal date, make sure that before you withdraw from any courses, that you do check with your financial aid provider. Sometimes they require that the student pay some of the money back if they withdraw. So just make sure before you make any sort of decisions like that you meet with an advisor or check with your financial aid provider before you do that. Communication is extremely important in an online course. I may only meet you a couple different times during the semester. Email is going to be probably our primary contact communication method. The course syllabus will be posted online. You need to check this for my office hours this semester. And my office is F166. It's on the Floyd campus. And my phone number will be at the top of the syllabus as well as my Highlands email address as well. And that means during my office hours, if you call me, I should be in the office during those times. If you're in the Floyd area, stop by. We can also make other arrangements to meet if necessary. You can email me through Georgia View Vista, or you can email me through Georgia Highlands email, whichever one is more convenient. If I have to, I usually do most communication to you through Georgia View. It's easier for me to do it that way, and that's sort of where our course lives, so it's just more convenient. But make sure that you communicate with me, especially if there's something that you have questions about. You can't wait until you see me to ask me. You have to sort of ask me as you go. So Communication is extremely important. I recommend that students check their emails and just their course accounts very regularly, at least once a day. And the college recommends that students check their Georgia Highlands email at least once a week because lots of things come through, scholarship information, that sort of thing, and students don't check that email very often. So it's important to do that regularly. The course is going to be posted online, and again, like I said earlier, once you get online and into the course management system, you will find everything for the course there. Any lecture material will be posted there. The syllabus, of course, which is one of the first things you should read after you watch this video. You should look at the course syllabus. All your reading assignments, I usually label it course calendar. Your essay assignments, any kind of, like I said, your lecture material, information on turnitin.com, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, any of the mandatory class meeting dates, and discussion questions. So all those things will be part of the course, and they will be all online for you to access. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the lecture material. This is the equivalent of material that you would have heard in class, information about the readings and about your assignments. And you will find when you log into the system, you will find that the calendar is set up by week. So when you have week 1 readings, you will also have an accompanying folder with week 1 material in it. So you will have information on those readings, and they will be both labeled with the same name, so you'll know what's what. Unless I indicated otherwise, weeks do start on Monday. Usually the only time that's different is depends on what day the semester starts on. Sometimes it starts on a Saturday. But normally a week will start on Monday, and that's sort of how you can keep up week 1, week 2, week 3, and then that's for your readings and the lecture material. I do post discussion questions most every week. There may be certain weeks when you won't have one, but this is the closest way to simulate the class discussions that you would have had in a traditional class. And those will be posted most of the time on Mondays as well. And what I'll do is I'll test you on works that you've already read, maybe from the previous week. So that will be a very important part of the course, are those discussion questions. Another important aspect of English 1102, the essay. I'll talk to you a little bit in a little while about other aspects about the essays, but English 1102 is a continuation of composition. Its technical name is Composition 2, so there is a significant stress on essay writing in English 1102. I'll talk to you a little bit more about grammar, the grammar units, but basically you're going to be continuing the emphasis on essays while bringing in literature into the mix. Turnitin is a program we're going to be using this semester. It offers several features, one of which is plagiarism detection, and the other one is the grade mark system. And we're going to be using both of the features, actually, will be utilized for this course. You will need to create a Turnitin account, or you will need to add this course to an existing account. So if you used it last semester or when you took English 1101 or for another course, all you have to do is just add this course to the list. And instructions for doing this will be posted on the homepage. So I'll have this course's ID name and password, so you can add that to your list. And all essays will be posted to the system by the students after they write them, because I'll also then use the grade mark function to grade the paper. So I'll grade them through Turnitin and then send them back to you. So that's how that will work, and it's a very efficient way for me to get the papers back to you in a more timely manner than having to wait till the next time I see you, which could be, weeks or even months in some cases. But all information about how to set up accounts will be posted. Let me talk to you a little bit about the course itself, English 1102. And the course description is on this PowerPoint. It's also on the syllabus. But basically, English 1102 is the second of 2 3-hour freshman courses that falls into Area A in the core curriculum. And a couple of things to note about English 1102 is that you must have made at least a C in English 1101 before you can continue into 1102. And you must pass both of those courses with at least a C before you can move on to the literatures, or if they won't transfer if you don't have a C in each one. And the focus of English 1102, like I said earlier, is to emphasize what you learned in 1101 about essay writing, but bringing into an introduction to literature. And and I would, in your case, all of your topics and all of your assignments, essay assignments, will be related to the reading. So where in English 1101 you might have had topics, like you had narrative, description, whatever modes your teacher taught in that particular class, these will all be, you'll be writing about what you're reading. So that's what I said earlier about people who struggle with reading comprehension. This is sort of, your essays are sort of based into the reading, which is where people who struggle in that area might have some difficulties there. But the big project in English 1102 is the research paper, and I'll talk to you about that in just a little bit. English 1102 does satisfy 2 student learning outcomes, communication and critical thinking, and I'll let you read more about that on your syllabus when you read it. Again, prerequisites. This is very important that you have at least made a C in English 1101 or exempted 1101 through advanced placement. And one of my responsibilities is to check prerequisites for all the students. So if I find something that doesn't look right, and if you have not met these requirements, I will be sending you an email. And I'll try to do that pretty soon so that you can get into another course. Please see the posted course syllabus for the textbooks that are required this semester. They will be listed on the course syllabus, complete with the editor and the edition, so you'll know which ones to buy. It's very important that you acquire the textbooks for the course. It's extremely difficult to complete the assignments in an appropriate manner if you do not have the right textbooks. And students who do so, who try to complete the course without the textbooks, should know that they do so at the risk of their grade. I will grade, and the assignments will be given under the assumption that you have the appropriate textbooks. Textbooks are one of those necessary evils of college, so make sure that you get the proper ones, and they're listed on your syllabus. The grading scale is also there, so make sure that you look at the grading scale for the semester. The course requirements for English 1102, there's a lot of them, and this is one of the reasons why English 1102 is, I don't say it's more difficult than 1101, but I think there's more components, because in English 1101, mainly your essay writing and your grammar. Here you're doing the essay writing, plus you're doing the research paper, plus you're doing the literature. Basically, just on a very simple scale, students are required to read all the assignments on the calendar, answer online discussion questions, write essays, write the research paper, and then come to class a very small handful of occasions, either to take tests or to attend the research paper writing workshop that I'll talk about in just a little bit. This is Introduction to Literature. It's not like some of the 2000 level literature classes, but it is important that you realize there will be reading involved, and really students can't succeed in a class like this without doing the appropriate readings. The reading list is pretty substantial. We'll be reading short stories, plays, and poems. So one of the things that the course calendar, the way that I've set that up, is that it's set up by the week. And so I've given you readings, and as long as you can keep up with, going by the weeks, you should be fine. But that's really important not to get behind. But that's true of any class, not just as an online one. Like I said earlier, there are many components to this course, and planning, keeping up, not procrastinating on assignments, and communicating with me. Those are the 3 top things that will keep students on track, because there are a lot of assignments in English 1102. And it is, like I said earlier, very easy to get overwhelmed in this particular course. And being organized and meeting deadlines are the keys to success, I believe, in 1102. Let's talk a little bit about the grammar component of English 1102. Because there's many other things we have to cover, the English department has agreed not to teach grammar as specifically as it was taught in English 1101, and students are expected to practice the rules that they learned in 1101. The essays will be graded with the understanding that students have learned the grammar already. They will be graded on grammar and content. So that means it's going to be put into the students' hands to review any grammar that they feel like they need to have extra help in. One of your required textbooks is a grammar handbook. And the reason why it's the same one that was used in 1101, and it's because it's the same grammar that you'll need to know from there. So that's a really good resource, that the grammar handbook. I will post some grammar handouts occasionally on the course website. And I'll also have some links to some grammar websites. So you can get on there and, do quizzes. Let's say that you remember from 1101 that you made a lot of fragment errors. You can get on the websites and take little quizzes, and they'll score you, and you can kind of practice your skills. So a lot of the grammar here is going to be sort of as you need it to review. But grammar is not taught again in 1102. It's sort of understood that you will carry over what you learned from 1101 into 1102. But at any point, if you feel like you need any extra information on any of the grammar, please let me know, and I can assist you with that. Let's talk a little bit about the research paper. First of all, I want to say that students shouldn't shop around for an 1102 teacher that doesn't do a research paper, because we all do. It's one of those required elements. Now the topics may differ and some of the requirements may differ, but every 1102 class, all course sections, have a research paper. Again, it's a necessary evil of English 1102. And in this particular course, it is 25% of your course grade. And in most courses, it's at least 20%. So it's considered a major project because it's a quarter of your grade. We will be having a research paper workshop this semester at some point, and with required attendance. And this is a major project, so you're going to receive training from on the actual writing of it and on the research part of it. And this is where you'll be sort of trained in how to complete this project and how to prepare it. I would like to point out that because this is such a big chunk of your grade, if the project is done very poorly, or if you don't turn it in at all for whatever reason, this is a big enough chunk that it could result in a failing grade, even if you've passed everything else, just because it is the 25%. In this particular course, I do the research paper as a project with various components due at staggered times throughout the semester. For example, you will turn in a topic, and then at another time in the future you will turn in an outline, and then you'll turn in a rough draft. So staying on track, this is one way to keep students on track. So I don't just announce that all of a sudden you have a paper due. So we'll do it at staggered times, and the research paper workshop is sort of the beginning of the process for that. So that's important that everyone is there at the research paper workshop. Since we just talked about the research paper, we'll kind of segue into plagiarism and academic dishonesty. You need to review, if you're not familiar with Georgia Highlands policies on student conduct and academic integrity. The web address for this is on the course syllabus, so you can either click from it or go in through the Academic Affairs website. Plagiarism, which is when a student credits someone else's work as his or her own, is a direct violation of the academic integrity and is taken extremely seriously by the college. There is a process, paperwork, a grade penalty that goes along with it, and it's a very unpleasant process, and it's one that you do not want to be embroiled in. And it's one of those things where it could be a citation issue, which is something I would consider more of a teachable thing, but then there's the actual downright cheating, which is also would be considered plagiarism, and which is a very serious violation. And my mantra on plagiarism is just don't do it. It's sort of like the opposite of the old Nike, or maybe the current Nike slogan. It is very serious, and it does go in your record, in your file. So, most situations where plagiarism happens is because students get behind and they don't think they have enough time to complete it properly. And it's always better to ask me for an extension on an assignment, or come and talk to me about the assignment and tell me where you're having the problems, rather than resorting to something that really could obviously affect your grade, your future in that particular course, and something that would go in your record. So please be aware that it is a very serious offense. Disability statement. Students who feel they need accommodations due to a disability should contact Student Support Services on their campus to discuss those accommodations. The financial aid statement is on your syllabus, and so you need to be familiar with the policy about the 0 GPA, and I'm not going to read you the policy here, and you probably hear it in all your classes anyway, but do be aware that there is a policy if a student gets a 0 GPA who receives financial aid. There may be some documentation necessary there. The college does have an extended absence policy. You need to be familiar with this. The thing about the extended absence policy is that the request to do this must come before the absences occur and not after. So that's the big thing here is, yes, there is an extended absence policy, but you can't ask for it after you miss the days. You have to ask for it before. So you can read more about that if you need more information. Georgia Highlands does require that faculty members report progress of their students throughout the semester, and you can read on the syllabus more about this. It's called the Early Warning Program. So at various times we will be required to report things like non-attendance, and then whether or not you're pursuing the course, which means if you're coming to class and doing the assignments, and then assigning midterm grades. Couple of other things to mention before we wrap up here. All of this information is located on the course syllabus or posted elsewhere on the course website. So if you want any more further information on any of this that I've mentioned, you can go to the website or the syllabus and find that. Be on the lookout for a questionnaire that I will send you through Vista, through the website. You will need to fill that out and return it to me. And another important aspect of the course is that you must log into the course during the first week of the semester. And obviously if you're watching the video through the website, you've done that, but you also need to be checking week 1 material, logging in, and basically have your account show some activity in it during the first week. If not, then the students will be reported as non-attending, will be removed from the roll. I'm looking forward to a good semester. I really enjoy teaching English 1102. It's one of my favorite courses to teach, and I'm looking forward to it. And I think I will just leave you with another note. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you have a question. I will refer back to what I said earlier about communication and how important it is in an online course. And just because we may not see each other twice a week like you would in a normal class, you just email me, come by my office, call me, and I think that that's the best way for us to get through the course, is to realize that I am on the other end of the phone or the email, and all you have to do is call and let me know. So anyway, like I said, you can email me through Georgia View Vista email or through Georgia Highlands, and call or come by my office as well. As soon as the mandatory class meeting dates have been set, I will be sending those out to you so you can make arrangements. Again, if you have any further questions about anything that I've gone over in the orientation, refer to the syllabus or email me about anything that you've seen here. Thank you.